Mandela County. A county attacked by a threat never seen before. Monsters that disguise themselves as humans, and even evasions through technologies. In this video, we will be analyzing the entire timeline of Mandela Catalogue as we try to solve the mystery behind it all. I'm Sir Chris. I explore the internet and I make videos about it.
You fucking bastard! That'd be alright.
Overthrown. It all starts with the animation The Beginner's Bible, where the two shepherds receive good news from an angel, which was the birth of Jesus Christ. Then, it tells us the story of Mary, who lived in Nazareth and was in love with Joseph, until a specific day, the angel Gabriel tells Mary the good news. An encrypted message that says the following: I am the one true savior. I must reverse the delusion. Joseph is next. As we can see, the animation was highly modified, so much so that now Joseph was being watched while he slept. Until the tape rewinds, but this time, it wasn't good news.
I know what you love. I know what you dread.
In the subtitles, a mysterious verse appears. All frozen I became and powerless then. Ask it not, reader, for I write it not, because all language would be insufficient. I did not die, and I alive remain not. Think for thyself now, as though out of with what I became, being of both deprived. This verse comes from a poem called The Divine Comedy by Dante, where Dante and Virgil go to the deepest part of hell, the frozen lake. And these lines describe the Dante's experience when he met Satan. And in the end, it shows the view of a mountain, while a text appears, saying how easy it was to deceive the shepherds. Volume 1, Restored Version. The first volume begins with a message from the United States government about a threat never seen before: alternates, creatures that disguise themselves as human beings and attack the victims with psychological methods. And so, they tell everybody to stay home, with everything locked and armed at all times. Until it moves on the classic call between the first two victims, Mark Elthcliff and Cesar Torres. On the call, Cesar calls Mark to ask him for a favor, as he had to take his mother to the hospital because she fainted. But during the call, Cesar seems too calm and indecisive for someone who just heard his mother screaming. But Mark agrees, and now has to go to Cesar's house to turn on the cameras. At 9 PM, he turns on the cameras and leaves quickly. Until at 3 AM, the camera captures movement of an alternate in the backyard, who breaks the window to invade Cesar's house. While walking around the house, we can hear that the alternate was looking for Mark.
Where you go, Mark?
Until somehow, the same alternate that broke into Cesar's house follows Mark home, which in the video, we can hear the alternate constantly tormenting him until he cannot take it anymore. So he opens the door and decides to put an end to it.
You fucking bastard!
But it was a bad decision. Then, shows us a training tape on what to do in certain emergency calls and which departments reassign to. But then, the strangest thing appear. Do not help a caller reporting a home intrusion, no matter how frantic the screams are. Calmly reassure the caller that help is on the way. End the call when they stop responding. Oh, as they normally do, basically. Soon after, they tell us about a super important disease that has reappeared: MAD. This happens when the victim is exposed to information they do not want to know. And for last, they show a toddler stress assessment, where they play various noises and images to see the toddler's reaction. Halfway through the test, they showed childhood drawings, which was a short story drawn by Mark when he was just 4 years old. It talks about a night where his father didn't see under his bed, and out of fear, he decided to go to his mother's room. But for it, he had to go through the stairs that had a dark room, while he can hear someone knocking on the door, until Mark sees the man in the corner, which quickly shows Mickey being cornered by death, which I think he wants to replicate what happened to Mark, as he simply fell asleep. Intruder alert. This one starts strong. It starts with the intruder's face, which then switches to a small PSA, telling parents to be careful with what their children are watching on television. And in the snap of a finger, they now tell the parents to not enter the room if they heard the child crying in front of the television. The woman decides to go in anyway, and notice that her son was not in the room. And when looking at the television, she now sees the face from the beginning, and she takes her own life. Suddenly, another alert appears. This time is about several counties where children are disappearing, and they tell the parents to keep the children away from televisions. One night, an investigator is sent to see a house after several noise complaints, and when arriving at the scene, he takes a photo, which makes him completely disturbed, and flees from the scene. And don't worry, this house will appear again later on. Exhibition. This one starts depressingly, with several unanswered calls, but beyond that, this video isn't that important, because it only shows what was inside Mark's camera. The first video shows him going to the church, probably after going to Cesar's house. A door opening on its own, him going down the basement stairs, the camera on Caesar's hallway floor, and the television that turns on by itself, which reveals a shadow. Which in the last photo shows that same shadow in his bedroom window. And then shows us the final message for Noah, which when the couple looks back, Gabriel says that Noah will regret having ignored his message, and so he will bring a new creature to the boat. And the video ends with a verse from the Bible. And no wonder, for Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. Volume 2. Volume 2 begins by showing the protagonists, Adam Ray and Jonah Marshall, that both were wanted by the FBI and they worked at BPS. One day, they receive a call from a woman who was being cursed by her old cat and offers $500 for each night. I don't have to tell you that they accepted because who wouldn't, right? But before they get to the house, we get to know more about the duo. Jonah uses drugs and thinks that alternates are just mass hysteria, while Adam is the more serious one. And finally, they arrive at the house. Jonah stays in the car looking at the cameras, while Adam goes inside to talk with the cat. Nothing special happens on the first night, except from a mysterious locked door. But in the morning, things start to get chaotic. As they talk, a scream is heard that scares Jonah, but intrigues Adam.
It's literally just an empty house, bro. Can you suck it up for 3 nights? Suck what?
That night, more precisely at midnight, Adam tries to talk with the alternate. But first, a message appears. The exposure to the causes an increase in video corruption and deterioration, which I believe the missing word is alternate. When asking questions, the radio starts to create a problem between them too, as the alternate starts repeating several lines with Jonah's voice.
Oh my god, behind you!
Dude, seriously, stop!
Oh my god, behind you! Behind you! Behind you!
Dude, quit!
What the hell did I do?
Just forget. And even threats them at the same time.
Dude, that's not funny. What's not funny?
From here, things start to fall apart. Adam decides to sleep inside the house instead of going back to the car. Doors open, monsters appear, and Jonah tries to convince him to leave, but Adam simply ignores him. Until the door that was locked unlocks itself, and they both speak for the last time. Listen for yourself.
Man, I'm just devastated that I'm not as broken as you still are with everything that's happened, and I'm sorry that I can't keep helping you carry this burden. What does that have to do with anything? But I'm reaching my fucking limit here. These things have taken so much away from us, yet you still run to them every chance you get. No, I don't. Fucking to me, you're not invincible, okay? I know you thought that when we started doing these fucking death marches. And nothing happened, and I get it, but this right here is real, and you should know that more than anybody. What's that even supposed to mean? I wish we never looked for your because she is dead and gone, and we were never gonna get her back. What did you just say to me? And Adam, if you walk down those stairs, you'd be joining her. And if by some miracle you come back out, I don't think you'd be yourself. I won't be here to confirm that. Well then just leave then! Leave!
As he goes down to the basement, he finally sees the cat, who then passes to the intruder on the television, and the alternate makes Adam a question.
I did the right thing.
Nobody is coming to help you.
Disturbed, when he realized that he messed up, Adam tries to talk with Jonah to see if he really left, but no response. It soon turns to Jonah crying while driving home after leaving him, until an alternate begins to torment Jonah, who then mysteriously dies at 5 AM. Volume 3. The third volume begins with a mother trying to comfort her baby in that old house. Unsuccessfully, she calls her ex-husband, who promises that he would show up on that night to help her. After the promotion of Ruth and Thatcher Davis, the police were now knocking on Mark's door, after the school called the department to report his disappearance. With no response, the police breaks in until they find Mark dead on the bedroom in his room. From here, the investigation begins. Thatcher Davis collects several items, such as the cassette player, the gun, and Mark's notebook, which later shows us more evidence, such as Caesar's fingerprints on the doorknob, and the tapes, which shows what it suffered while he was trapped in his room. The first video cassette is called The Shadow Under the Door. And the last tape is called Voices Outside My Room.
You need to open the door. No. I am not going away.
What time is it? It's just after 8. I'm nervous for the time. Don't be nervous about the time. You have loads of time.
Now, on his notebook, it shows us the development of Mark's insecurity over the days while he was trapped in his room, until the most chilling phrase is repeated several times. Who have I been praying to all this time? Which then shows us a new character, Dave from the Mandela Tech. He was able to recover a program from a tape called The Night of the Subconscious, which shows us Stanley, the floating face. In that episode, he tells us a secret, that he can make friends appear in the snap of a finger. When teaching us, we noticed that it was actually a trap, because now our imaginary friend is somewhere inside our house. Soon after, it switches to a call between Thatcher Davis and Jude Murray, Adam's father. On that call, Jude was in a bad situation because of an intruder that was now inside of his house. Due to what happened, Thatcher and Ruth go to investigate the house, and as soon as they get there, they hear music. Upon entering the room with the music, they both notice that Lee Murray took her own life. But things can't get any worse, right? Well, the camera starts to have problems, and Thatcher was now alone, because without knowing it, Ruth was actually an alternate, and we discover it in the worst way possible.
Look. What do you want?
In that situation, Thatcher uses Plan B. They escape through the window, which, when succeeding, he tells Ruth, in this case the alternate, to meet him at the police station. And now comes the most depressing part of the series. Thatcher asking several times for reinforcements over the radio to return to the scene, but if somehow she was still alive, now she's gone. And as promised, Thatcher returns to the police station, but he wasn't alone. Because in the hall, an alternate appears and starts to torment Thatcher.
Wanna meet my best friend? He likes to hide, but he wants to meet you. I want to play with him in the TV.
And it ends with Thatcher making Mark's mistake. Interlude. Interlude shows us some photos before showing us a fake video saying that the thread had been destroyed. Then shows us 3 versions of alternates who try to imitate human beings. We have the failed version, the successful one, and the overdriven one, which the last victim is a priest who is declared as the messenger at the end. That later on, his name is O'Brien. Volume 4. It starts with the story of how the Earth was created, the animals, day, night, and the first man and woman. But everything starts to fall apart in one night, where the man wakes up and finds Gabriel behind the Tree of Knowledge, where the snake, in this case Gabriel, shows the forbidden fruit. And after that, the woman was now scared because of the man's appearance. And Volume 4 starts now. It starts with a conversation between Dave and O'Brien, where in it, we realize that Dave's business is in a bad situation, and O'Brien tries to convince him to join the church. While Dave was busy, Evelyn, a Mandela Tech employee, finds a tape and decides to watch it, which was the toddler stress assessment. This volume sends us on a journey through time, but first, we go to 2007, 2 years before BPS was created, where we see Mark's sister's announcement looking for a partner for paranormal investigations, which Adam decides to apply as he was born in Mandela and he knew places to search. And so, they formed the Bytorn Paranormal Society. 4 days after he entered, they carried out the first investigation in a house that had a crime scene, in which Adam's bait was screams of despair. And 3 minutes in, several arms began to appear, and they both flee from the house. Sarah, scared after what happened, decides to take care of the online, while Adam now needs to find a new partner, and that justifies us seeing Adam with Jonah in Volume 2. Until now, we go back to where they left off on Volume 2, more specifically, 1 minute after Jonah died, which means Adam saw Jonah's body and still took the car. Upon arriving home, Adam speaks to Sarah, where he had good news and bad news. The bad news was that Jonah had left him behind and probably died. But at least they had good footage. Sarah freaks out and now forces him to create a video to inform the fans about what happened. But in the meantime, we return to the thoughts of Thatcher Davis, who was hopeless and exhausted, while everything around him is falling into pieces. When trying to sleep, he sees something. No. He sees someone in his closet, who eventually disappears, and he goes to sleep. Dave fires Evelyn and recommends her to go to the police station to ask Thatcher for a job. However, Adam finally finishes making the video and sends Sarah 2 files. The first one shows us the unfinished and dry video, until he finally sends the second file that reveals a lot. It starts with Adam informing of Jonah's death, until now shows him inside of the Holds house's room, which, when opening the door, shows the audios of Evelyn, his ex. The audios said that Adam was never the same again since he started doing the paranormal investigations with Jonah, and one day he told her things she wished she had never heard, like an alternate. Until Jonah's car camera appears, while we hear an alternate using Adam's voice against himself.
I never said that. It's messing with my words. I don't know what's going on. It's not me. The computer, I swear. I'm not stupid. I never said that. The computer, I swear. Messing with my words. I'm not stupid, alright? I don't know what's going on with my words. I never said that. Shut the f*** up! I never said that. It's messing with my words.
I've had enough of you!
Messing with my words. I never said
Please,
that.
just get the f*** out of my ass!
Then, a program made by Dave's company, Face Studio 2, appears, which consisted of a program where you can make your face say anything, if you send 3 photos of yourself along with your personal information, which honestly sounds like a perfect way for alternates to imitate a person. But with that aside, Evelyn enters the police department looking for Davis. Since it was empty, she lets her curiosity get the best of her. She finds a key and enters the archives room, which had several cases, including of the Murray family. When saying goodbye to Thatcher, Dave ends up going to see O'Brien at the St. Gabriel's Church, in which he's well received by the man himself, Gabriel, who mocks him for the last time before executing him in the entrance. When viewing the files, she notices the results of Adam's stress test, in which he did not react to any noise. Focused on reading, an alternate turned off the light, and now Evelyn had to find an exit while relying on the alarm light to see the way, which probably wasn't successful. Probably. That same night, Adam receives a spam message asking if it was really him, and when he tries to respond, the computer forces him to watch a video. The video talks about his childhood, and that Adam had given Stanley a physical form. And finally, he says that he took care of Adam since the very day he kidnapped him. And in the middle of the video, Sarah finally begins to understand what is happening.
What's going on, Adam? Who are you talking to? You need to call me back now. I don't know what's going on. Please don't make me have to worry about you. Please call me back. Please.
And with this, they confirm that the alternates have already taken over the churches, killed the only one who could recover the tapes, and caught Mandela's prophet. Mandela Catalyst, and presto. After what happened, this tape begins in the next morning, with the news mentioning what happened at St. Gabriel's Church, and at the end, shows us Thatcher Davis finding Adam's body. Even after the scream, Thatcher bites the bullet and brings Adam to the station, as seen later on in presto. By the way, presto means something done in a quick tempo, and presto starts with the fact that Mandela Tech is going to close, and so everything was 70% off. Then, it shows us a conversation between Sarah and Evelyn, who Sarah sees disconnected halfway through and is forced to watch the police department cameras, including specifically the one in the interrogation room. In it, we see Thatcher Davis talking to Adam, while we can hear Adam slowly losing his humanity.
What you want?
He explains what happened in January 2009 and says that it's his fault for what happened to Jonah, and that he was now paying the price as told by God, which I assume that was Gabriel. And it ends with the last phrases. You were so caught up in your own volition that you never noticed your world turning into a grey and twisted version of its former self. I know, it's a lot to digest, but here we go again. Mandela Catalogue talks about the story of several counties in the United States that begin to be attacked by a threat never seen before. Alternates. That through them, people caught a disease that had existed for several years. Metaphysical awareness disorder, which made the victim hallucinate with voices that said horrible things. Which means that in this alternative world, alternates had existed for a long time. But as there were no technologies, they weren't able to spread effectively. So much so that we see Gabriel in person several times disturbing the shepherds. And we can see the disease in action with Mark and Adam. The case that haunts this series the most is that of Mark Elfcliffe, who after going to Caesar's house, Caesar's alternate follows him home and holds him hostage for 2 days, which in the end, Mark, as the pure American that it is, picks a gun and shot several rounds at the alternate, but seeing that he did nothing, it took his own life. 15 years later, we see Adam and Jonah going to Caesar's house, after that same woman offered a crazy amount of money. But with that comes a cost, their lives. Where everything starts to fall apart on the last night, when the door is unlocked, in which Jonah leaves, while Adam goes down to the basement and confronts the man on the television, where the man on the TV asks Adam a question. Since now the man on the TV would have to infect the very own child that he kidnapped and raised. In Volume 3, we get to know more about Adam's childhood, where in the wave of missing children, he was one of them. And things do not look pretty in Mandela County. In the 4th volume, we see that Adam is slowly transforming into an alternate, and after walking for miles in the cold, he arrives at the car 1 minute after Jonah died. And when talking to Sarah, Adam is now forced to create a video, until halfway through the drafts, Sarah finally begins to understand. The alternates modify the tapes to deceive those left in Mandela County, as we can see in the passage for the parents, the thread annihilated, the Stanley, the beginner's Bible, and the police training tape. And they also interfere with technologies, as we can see throughout the volumes. And now, Thatcher is left completely alone in the investigations, as Dave dies at the entrance to St. Gabriel Church by Satan himself, disguised as the messenger of God. But for now, everything ends up with the information that the alternates have already taken over the churches, the police stations, and even infected the prophet, as we can see in the penultimate video. But only time will tell. And you, viewer, what's your theory behind all of this? Let me know in the comments, and take care, my friend.